Algebra 2 Honors. It's our first day of notes on conics. And so you've graphed parabolas before, but this is going to be based on the definition of a parabola, and that definition of the parabola is talked about here in exploring the focus and the directrix. And the parabola is the set of all points that are equally distant from a focus, which is a single point, and the directrix, which is a line. So a parabola consists of all sets of points that are equally distant from a point and a line. And so in this box here, if I look at this point on the parabola, the distance to this point, which is called the focus, and this distance, which is to this line called the directrix, is the same. Notice how they have triple slash marks in geometry. That means those segments are congruent. So this point is equally distant from both the focus and the directrix. Excuse me. And then here's another point, equally distant to the focus and the directrix. This point's equally distant from the focus and the directrix, and it is known to be the vertex. The vertex lies halfway between the focus and the directrix. And every point on that parabola will have the same distance to the focus as it does to the directrix. And that's how you define the locus of points, or the set of points that determine a parabola. So right here it says use the distance formula to write an equation of the parabola with focus 0, 4 and directrix at y equals -4. Well, the vertex is halfway between the directrix and the focus, so the vertex on this is at 0, 0. And I am just going to sketch, it's not really accurate, but I'm just sketching a parabola here so that I can use it to talk about it. The parabola is the set of points, so I'm just going to choose a point. I'm going to call it P, and I'm going to give it a general ordered pair of xy. And we're going to use the distance formula to write an equation of the parabola based on the definition that we talked about. Well, what I know is that the distance from that point to the focus is the same as that distance is to the directrix. We have to drop a perpendicular, and I'm going to call this point D. And this point, since from the origin, 0, 0, you go to the same distance to the right to get to P, you're going the same distance to the right to get to D, meaning that the x-coordinate of D has to be the same as P, because P is right above it, and so their x-coordinates are the same. The y-coordinate of D has to be -4 because it's on the directrix, which is the equation y equals -4, and the focus is 0, 4. And so according to the definition that we talked about, the length of PF has to be the same as PD. And so up here we've reviewed the distance formula. This, when you have two capital letters together without a segment symbol, that represents the length of segment AB from geometry. So here's your distance. If these are your 2 points, you take the change in x and square it, you take the change in y and square, add them up and take the square root. That's what we're going to do. Now, for P, it's xy, and for F, it is 0, 4. So the distance on that, I'm going to do x minus 0 squared plus y minus 4 squared. And that has to equal, well, over here we've got, again, the point xy. And then D is x -4. So if I do x minus x squared plus y, it'll be plus 4 if I subtract squared. Now I'm using that definition, and we're just going to find the equation by working through this. I'm going to square both sides, and therefore the radicals are gone, and then x minus 0 squared is x squared. y minus 4 squared is y squared minus 8y plus 16. Here I've got 0 squared, which is just 0, and then a y squared plus 8y plus 16. So the 0 has no value, so it's out of there. If I subtract y squared on both sides, it's gone. If I subtract 16 on both sides, it's gone. So I have x squared equaling, if I add 8y to the other side, I have a 16y. And how we are going to be writing this is we divide by the 1/16, make it a flat fraction bar, center the x squared with that flat fraction bar, and that is the equation of this parabola. So, standard equations of a parabola with the vertex at the origin, so the vertex is at 0, 0 on these, and it has a vertical axis of symmetry. The equation is this: y equals 1 over 4p x squared. And the focus is at 0p, so the distance from the vertex to the focus is p units. The distance from the vertex to the directrix is p units. That's going to be important. Right up here, if we compare this to y is equal to 1 over 4p x squared, that means that the 1 over 4p is the 1 over 16, or 16 is 4p, and p is 4. And so up on this example 1, the distance from the vertex to the focus is p units. So this point is 0p. It's up p. And then the distance from the vertex to the directrix is 4 units. And so you're down 4 units, so the equation of the directrix is y equals -4. It's going to be important to note that the distance from the vertex to the focus is p units. The distance from the vertex to the directrix is p units. By the way, these are some alternate forms of that equation that you sometimes see. They multiply both sides by 4p and they write it in this form. This textbook chooses this form. So we have this equation, -8y equaling x squared. Well, it's not really in the format I want. Divide by -8, and I'm going to write it -1/8 x squared. Same thing, but now it's in that form of y equals 1 over 4p x squared. I'm going to want you to find the vertex, the focus, the directrix, the axis of symmetry, and include focal endpoints. We'll talk about that as we go. We're going to call those point A and point B. So those are the things that I'm going to want. Well, according to these two equations, 1 over 4p is -1/8, or 8 is a -4p. So that means p is a -2. And in this box up here, if p is positive, the graph opens up. If p is negative, the graph opens down. So this is going to be a graph that opens down. And so its vertex is at the origin. The value of p is -2. Since it opens down, the focus is going to be 0, -2. You have to go p units, but you're going down. And this is going to be my focus. And then the directrix goes p units up, so I have to go up 2. And the directrix is y equals +2. It talks